What's up, everybody? It's Brandon from Box Office Banner and Cult Flick Symposium. I'm late to the party, but I'm here to talk to you about Beekeeper. And this is one I didn't have a lot of high hopes for, but I started to, get a vibe that maybe this one was a cut above the rest, or at least a cut above the rest of other Jason Statham films, which I have not really been impressed by, in a long time. Like even his movies in general, like I'm not a huge fan of them. He's got a couple great ones in there. Not, too many, but like he was at least consistently consistent with just having good movies. And here recently, they've been bad to average to barely good. So I was kind of curious to, see a Jason Statham movie that at least was just like, okay, I actually really enjoyed that one because it had been a while, at least, that I can remember, recent consciousness. Watch me be like, oh shit, last year this came out. But it's just Statham, for me, feel like I've gave him a bad rap, honestly, because I'm in love with the 80s, 90s action star. He's one of the better of today's day and age, but he's the guy I point to. It's like, look, this is the best of our today's day and age. He doesn't really even have that it factor to that degree. Like, that just shows you how bad off we are. And, that's not to say he doesn't always have terrible it factor. He does have moments, but at the end of the day, he does not cut it for me on the level that these other greats did. And actually, let me take that back. See, it just popped in my head. Wrath of Man was pretty fucking good. So I was hoping maybe for something on the level of that. And if my dog is barking in the background, which she is, and you can hear it, I fucking apologize. I've been trying to get this review out. Hopefully she's going to be quiet now. But here it is, guys, regardless. The dog keeper over here, not the beekeeper. I honestly, though, don't have too much to say about this film, but I will say that, yes, this is a bounce back. It's a little ridiculous in plot, but Statham is Statham best. Like, he's not, to me at least, he doesn't quite have that. He's got a factor, but it's not quite the it factor of the 80s, 90s guys. And a lot of that, I think, is just the era. We were more enamored with these kind of guys, so maybe it doesn't play into Statham's hands. But at the end of the day, he does a good job. And when he's, like, on his game, you are intimidated by him. You feel his presence. And it's, like I said, not quite like those guys, but it's still good enough. And that's what makes him the best of the best, probably, of this era. And he does bring that bravado to this role. He nails it in a ridiculous type of role, but it works perfect within the movie. There's definitely ridiculous things that happen in this movie, but it's not like to the point of some of his other roles where you're just like, dude, like that's ridiculous and dumb and boring. These movies sway in certain directions and it just loses you. Sometimes they sway in those same directions while they're in movies like this, and they're just so much fun and so cool that it just works. Statham doing some of the Statham things that, he does, just works better in this movie. Whether it's the way it's shot, whether it's the way he buys into said role. Maybe it's the direction of David Ayer. David Ayer is the guy that directed this, right? Tell me I'm not ridiculous on this one. I believe this is a bounce back role from Ayer, but he seems to be in a better environment and a better movie in general here. Doesn't feel quite full on cash grab. It feels like we know what we are, but we're also taking it up a bit, whether that's with budget or movie in general. Statham definitely brings it here, and the movie is better for it, and the movie brings it here. So definitely a cut above the rest. I've got to say that, guys. And I also like the fact that there's not just martial arts and action that Statham brings to the role, but it's also, kind of fucking brutal at times. Like, right, when you're not expecting it, it's like, oh, shit, we're doing this. Okay, like it's getting a little dark. Like it's not full on, boy kills world dark that I just praised on this channel, but the action is fucking like, it's intense. It's not just punch, 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 PG-13, or like it's rated R, but it feels slightly PG-13 with some F words. There are some moments you're like, oh shit, he got him like that. I love that. I love when you bring that to a fucking action movie. I always call them bullet points. It's that bullet point. It's that stamp. It's the, okay, that was fucking cool action, and then boom, you make a fucking move like that, and you're like, oh, fuck. That's how you put a stamp on it. That's a bullet point. There's a lot of moments like that in this movie, which I truly appreciate. Fight scenes in general, there's the Statham-esque fight scenes, but they're not like lower tier. They're like not quite like, oh, damn, Statham, he's reinvented the wheel, or Statham is completely back. He's kind of continuing that same wavelength, not his lower tier fight scenes, but his solid ass fight scenes with a little bit better camera work, and again those stamps that make the fight scenes feel a little more impactful. And of course, it's a revenge flick. Most of these movies are. But it's kind of a fun revenge flick because it kind of like plays on the narratives of like, old age people. Like we see this shit with old age people. They're really susceptible to scams and things of that nature. I don't really know what all it says in the trailer, so I won't say exactly what happens. I feel like it kind of gave that vibe from what I remember, but I watched this trailer back in January, I think, or maybe even December, because January, I think, is when it came out, but I think I saw the trailer like a month before. So you got to remember, people, it's like 5 months ago. But I remember fancy people in suits that were scamming. I feel like I remember that in the trailer. I won't say exactly what the scam entails, but the scam sets up, the revenge, the attack. And let me just say, while that's not as great as like somebody just doing your basic revenge plot where it's like somebody's dead and just go, it is at least different. Like there's something to it to where it's like, okay, it's a little different, even if it's a speck, but you add up enough specs, the movie becomes a little more original-ish, even if it's not all that original, but enough to like, subdue your mind and, kind of subtract it away from all the other fucking action revenge flair that's all over the place in other Statham movies. But it also, while doing that, it's like one of those things like I fucking have, seen my grandparents, I've seen other old people. This shit happens all the time, man. It's not, there's a reason why you're getting scam likely calling your phone is because they're picking up on random dumb motherfuckers and they're picking up on old people that wouldn't fucking know any better because they have not adjusted to society enough to where they can be like, oh, that's a scam. Some have, but a lot more have just been like, oh yeah, I guess I didn't pay my bill. Like that's just, did I forget? Did we pay the bill? I don't remember. Okay, yeah, we'll pay it right now. I can't believe she didn't pay the bill. Like that's older people that are not tech savvy. You could definitely, make the interpretation that some crazy shit like this would happen if the people were this powerful. I don't think anybody's this powerful. Maybe they fucking are. I don't know. I don't scam that often. I don't normally, get scammed to this degree. So, I mean, it's something that it's enough, and it's one of those things where a bunch of it was just like, it's enough. It's enough. It's enough. And enough of it's enoughs plus good action plus pretty decent direction. They really know where they're fucking going in this movie. They really get to the point where I was actually impressed. Like, not just on a good level. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I think it was a great movie as far as action standards go these days. Jason Statham, this is the first great movie I have seen from him in, yeah, I mean, I don't know how long. I'm trying to think of even movies that I think are great of his. Like Wrath of Man, I thought that movie was a shoo-in for being great. At the end of the day, I think I gave it a 7.8 because there was little decisions that were made, and that's the problem when you get in a movie like that. There's a little more to it, so it's like things can go the wrong direction. This one's cut and dry. You know what you're getting into, and it does those things to the best of its ability. So there's not as much room for error. So it's another thing that's special about this movie. It's definitely a throwback to like those old school 80s action movies in the best ways. Definitely check out The Beekeeper. If you skipped it, you're like, oh, I mean, Jason Statham, he done got anymore. Maybe you're thinking that way and you liked his older movies. Like, this is easily, to me, a top 5 Jason Statham movie. Definitely gotta check this one out. If he's yo dude, he's not my dude. I got mad respect for him. But yet and still, I gotta be honest, don't have many great ones from him. But this, I think, does fall in the great category. And it's cool, man, because, a couple more average ones, and then next thing you know, he's just on the bargain bin. Like, that's how quick it can happen. Now that Expendables are probably completely out of the way after the travesty that Expendables 4 was. So good to see him really have a good role here. I love you guys. Check it out if you haven't watched it yet. Peace.